Hey everybody, it's Karen with Food and Family, and Thanksgiving is almost here. So we're getting ready to make some dishes. We want to put them in the freezer. So it saves us time when we're cooking our Thanksgiving meal. And one I love to put in the freezer ahead of time is my cornbread dressing. After it sits, everything just melds together and marries together. I've got my oven preheating to 435. That is the perfect temperature to bake your cornbread on. I've got 2 skillets. I'm making a lot of cornbread, a lot of dressing. So I've got a 10-inch skillet, and then I've got it's either 6 or 8-inch skillet, smaller one. So that'll be enough for my family. So we're going to start out with 3 cups of cornmeal. Now this is White Lily buttermilk cornmeal mix. That's what I like to use. Yeah, I've heard me before. I love White Lily. And yes, I know this has flour and salt and everything in it already, but you know, I like to add a little bit more. It's just the way I've always done it and the way I like to make it. So I've got 3 cups of that cornmeal mix, and I'm going to put right about 1/4 of a cup of flour. I don't want it cakey, but I just like to add that little extra bit of flour. Then we're going to add some salt. I like to add extra salt. I've got some chicken back here on the stove boiling. I've got 4 large chicken breasts. Salt it really well. You want it seasoned. You want that meat seasoned. This is your opportunity to get it all in. I've got an onion and some celery, letting it cook. And that's going to make my broth. So we want fresh homemade broth. You can make it with store-bought with the box stock, and it would still be good. But we just like to do it like this. I'm going to put in a couple of eggs. And I forget to get my buttermilk out. I'll get that. I'll be right back, but I want to rinse this eggs off my hands. I'm going to start with 2 cups of milk, but I think it's probably going to take a little more. Now, when you use like whole fat buttermilk, when you can find it, sometimes we can't find it. I don't know why, but if you use the low fat buttermilk, it won't take as much because it's a lot thinner. So let's start out with that. That's a cup. I'm sure it's going to take more. And that is still too thick. Can you see that? So let's put the rest of it in. So we've got 2 cups of milk in it. Maybe that'll do it, because this is the thinner. Oh, I think that's going to work. Yeah. Oh, that's looking good. Look, now that's the perfect consistency for your cornbread. So let's move some of this stuff out of the way. I'm going to get my skillets out of the oven and see if they're hot enough. You want them hot. I like to put them in the oven when I start preheating it, and by the time I get them out, it's screaming hot. So we got them there, and I'm going to add a little bit of solid shortening to each one. Crisco solid shortening. If you've got lard, use lard. I just don't have any. Look, it's already melting. It doesn't take a whole lot. Well, one reason being, we're going to add some butter to that skillet. Add a little bit of butter. As my granny would say, that's just gonna make it gooder. All right. So now what we need to do is we're gonna divide this cornbread batter between the two skillets today. It's gonna be good. I smooth it out, and you see how all that butter and shortening come up on that side, and it's already started getting a little cooked around the edge. You see that? So we're going to put this in our preheated oven, and we're going to bake it about 20 minutes. And then we're going to take it out, and I'll put it in my bowl that I'm going to mix my dressing up in, break it up a little bit and let it cool enough so I can handle it. And then when we get to that point, I'll come back and show you what I add to it, okay? I see you. We're back. We've got our cornbread baked. The chicken is done. I've got it out of the pan and cooling. I took the cornbread out, broke it up so it could cool. We started crumbling it up. So now I'm going to fix our celery and onions. I've got my onions chopped up. So now I'm going to do my celery. And if you have little tender pieces like this from the inside and with the leaves, use them. There's a lot of flavor in those celery leaves. I've got, I cut it up. I've got about 3 stalks of celery. Now these are celery hearts. I trimmed the ends, washed them real good, and then I cut each piece in half. So I've got a couple of sticks of celery. So I'm just going to chop it up, and we're going to add it in there. My family doesn't like a whole lot of celery in the dressing. We would rather have a little bit of celery, just enough. I don't pre-cook my celery. I don't pre-cook the onions. I figure, why should I? I'm going to be putting it in the oven and cooking it anyway. But if you're used to cooking it and that's what your family does, by all means, cook it. I know people that do. There's nothing wrong with it. I just choose not to. So it's one less step to go through, one less pan to wash. So we're going to put that in there. And dump our onion in. So got all our veggies. You can't see, can you? Got all our veggies in there. Now we're going to break up this chicken. And I don't want it in fine shreds, but I want smaller chunks, maybe about like that. You want to know you got some chicken in it and it not be stringy. And if you get too fine, it gets stringy, and I don't like it that way. I want to know I've got chicken. So it don't take but a minute. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save back a little bit of this chicken for my gravy. And just in the case I don't have enough, I've got some extra chicken broth sitting on the counter behind me if I don't have enough in my pot here. It's going to be good. I can't wait. Y'all ready for the holidays? We are. We're getting ready for them. It's going to be so good. Look at my big spatula. Now we got to stir this big bowl. Do you see how full it is? And that's the biggest bowl I've got. If I had any more, I'd have to split it up. There's a few bigger pieces of cornbread in there, but once we add that broth, they're going to break down after they get wet. That's good for now because we're going to add some seasoning. I'm going to add a little bit more salt. I tasted the cornbread and I decided it needed a little more salt. And that's probably, that's not even a teaspoon. Close to it, but not a teaspoon. I'll use sage and poultry seasoning. Now, I know sage has poultry seasoning in it, but I like to use a little extra. So I'm going to use 2 teaspoons of that. We might come back and add a little. Let's add a little more. We like the sage, and we'll taste it. We might add some more. I don't have raw eggs, so we're going to add some. Y'all know what I did? I just said it backwards. I added 2 teaspoons of sage. Now I'm adding 2 teaspoons of my poultry seasoning. That's okay, I got my jars mixed up. It happens when you're cooking. And this is real cooking. But you know what? This is a big bowl of dressing. All right, I think that's mixed up real good. Can you see down in that bowl? Now let's add this pot has, I don't know, I think 4 to 5 cups of broth. So we're gonna start out with a big lot of it, and we're probably going to end up using it all, if not some of that extra that I've got back there. Now we're going to bake this. I need to go ahead, while I'm thinking about it, let me turn my oven on so it can be preheating. I'm making it for Thanksgiving, but we want to go ahead and this is going to be our test run today. And we're going to try it. Yeah, we're going to use all of this broth. You want it wet. You don't want it swimming in broth, but you want it pretty wet. Oh, that's looking fine. I do think I want a little more broth. So let me grab the extra I've got back here. And it is rich. You can actually boil your chicken, make you some broth, use your chicken for chicken salad or chicken tacos or enchiladas or anything. Take your broth, put it in a container and freeze it. So you've got fresh homemade broth anytime you want it. Oh, now can you see the consistency of this? See, it's wet. It's dripping off of my spatula. It's wet, but it's not swimming in liquid. So let's get our pan, get our dish. I've got a, what is this, a 9 by 13, something like that. It's a 3/4, it says. So we're gonna pour this in there. I hope it holds it all. That's better. Y'all are in here with me. Looky there. Looky there. Ooh, it's a big pan. That's a big dish of dressing. So let's spread it out. We're going to pat it down. Now my oven is, I'm preheating it to 435. We're going to bake this. I want to say I'm going to start at an hour. And I may actually have to go a little bit longer. This is a lot of dressing, but you want it done on the inside. Everything is cooked. You've just got to get it hot and on the inside. The onions and celery will cook with it. So, and there's nothing really in here. You could eat it just like this if you wanted to, but we're not. So we'll slip this in the oven when it gets done preheating, and we're going to come back and make some gravy to go with it, okay? Hang on with me. Let's make some gravy to go with that dressing, and it will be out in just a little bit. So we're going to get our gravy going. So get my pan heating, and I'm going to put a little bit of oil. That's probably a tablespoon, maybe just over. So get us a little bit of flour. You want about as much flour as fat, whether you're using oil or butter. We might put a little butter in it. We'll just have to see. We're going to put salt in it. We're going to season it. That is about a teaspoon of salt. Probably looks like more to you, but it's not. And it takes a couple of minutes to cook that raw flour taste out of it. You want to cook it down. And I think we're going to add a touch more flour. I said that was a tablespoon of oil. That might have been closer to 2. Better, better, better. And it will make a paste. It's hard to tell you exact recipe for gravy. A lot of it's just an eyeball. You got to see what it looks like and how it feels. So let's see how I got it's like pasty in there. Let me just let it cook it now. So here's our broth that we had, you know, the extra we had. So we're going to start pouring it in. So typically you're going to use about twice, actually about 4 times more broth than you do fat and flour. So then I've got close to 4 cups here. Yeah, get some of that good old chicken stuff in there. That'll just give it a little extra flavor. You can put, if you've got some chicken base, put some of that in there. If you've got some bouillon, put just a little bit because it's salty and you want to be careful with that. That'll just amp up that flavor a little bit. And I've got some in here. So that's what we're doing today. We'll get this smoothed out and bubbling. We're going to put our chicken in it and we're going to cut up these eggs. Do you put eggs in your gravy for dressing? I like it. I think it just adds to it. To me, that makes what we call giblet gravy. All right. So I'm going to let that sit here a second. And we're going to break up this chicken. And I've got to get a knife to cut up my eggs. So let's just, again, don't tear it up too fine. But you don't want too big of chunks in this either. Now, yep, that's the perfect amount of chicken in this gravy for me. So let me grab a knife and we'll get this, get these eggs cut up. Now, if you're not used to cutting it in your hands, don't. Please put it on a cutting board. I've done this for so many years, but I don't want anybody to get hurt. I've cut it in 4 pieces. Y'all have seen me do this before. And I'm just gonna cut it up and just let it fall right in that gravy. If it has some bigger pieces, that's fine. Doesn't matter. I boiled 4 eggs. Actually, I cooked them in my egg cooker. And if you haven't seen it, go to my Amazon store. And I've got it on the Amazon store. I'll put a link in the description box below the video. And get you one of these. They're not expensive. And they're the best things. I put my eggs in it. See, and putting that yolk in there kind of changes the color too, because it'll kind of break up a lot. The white won't, but the yolk will. I think we're going to use just about all of this broth. I make my gravy for my dressing a little thinner than I do if I'm making gravy for breakfast or to go on biscuits. Yep, let's go ahead and use the rest of it because we're going to let that simmer down for just a minute. And it's going to get to the right consistency. And actually, it's pretty perfect now. And I'm going to get me a spoon. And I'm going to taste it, see if we need to add any more salt and pepper or anything like that. If you have other things. Can't wait to put this all together and have a plate. No, it doesn't need any more salt. Remember, I put a little bit in with the flour. Plus, I've got a bouillon in there. And it's got salt in it. So this is perfect. So I'm going to let this sit here and simmer for just another couple of minutes. And when that dressing comes out of the oven, we're going to scoop into it. And we're going to put a big spoonful of gravy over it. And we're going to try it out. Okay, stay with me. Timer just went off on the oven. So let's get out the dressing. I can smell it and I'm hungry. Turn our oven off. Ooh, looky here. Looky here. Oh my goodness, see that steam coming off of it? Oh, it's gonna be so good. So, let me close this and turn that light off while we're at it. And I'm gonna get a serving spoon and we're gonna dip up some of this dressing. Wow. Miss Steffi just came in, so she's going to try it with me. So we're going to service up some. Yeah, this is...
What we got?
Ooh, chicken and dressing and gravy. Look at those crispy edges there. I like crispy edges.
That's the best part.
Can you see what that looks like? Looky there. Looky there. Can you smell oh, that goodness? Ooh. Show them what that dressing looks like, and then we're going to drown it in gravy. See that? Oh, my.
That right there is the best part.
You know it.
Crispy edges.
It's not dry. It's still moist. And that's what you want.
I showed up at the right time.
You sure did. You can help me taste it. Can you get any better than that gravy with eggs in it and butter? We didn't put butter in it. Oh, I was going to put butter in it. That's okay. We don't need it. A little extra gravy won't hurt us, will it? Let's see what we got here. We got a big old bowl of deliciousness. It's hot.
That's Thanksgiving.
That is Thanksgiving in one bite. Thanksgiving in one bite. Y'all, I hope you make this. You've got to try it. I know I'm bragging on myself, but this is some delicious dressing with the gravy. And I'll put the recipe down in the description box for you. And I'll give you instructions on the gravy. I can't give you exact measurements, but you'll be able to eyeball it. And try this. You know, we make it at Thanksgiving and Christmas. I don't know why we don't make it the rest of the year.
Once a month at least.
You know, we need to make it more. Well, let's make a holiday just for dressing. We don't need anything else to go with it. I'm going to go eat my dressing. And we'll see y'all later. Thanks for joining us. And I love and appreciate all of you. Bye-bye.